Bershad, a former detective for the New York Police Department, retired LAPD Police Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, and also CNN legal analyst and former LA County Prosecutor Lonnie Combs. Sergeant Dorsey, I want to start with you. I know in many ways these families are asking for the answers to questions that are unanswerable, right? This was such a catastrophic failure. No one's going to ever be able to explain it away. But should they be getting a better response from some of their officials, elected leaders, and others than they're getting right now?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, everybody seems to be pointing the finger in the other direction at someone else. And this mayor gets no brownie points from me. I mean, he was in lockstep with Governor Abbott on day one, and now he understands he's an elected official, and he understands that his butt is now he's got problems. And so he's saying everything that he needs to say to save his own tail. And so if he's not in it for the money, because he only gets $50 a month, he's in it for the perks, then do the honorable thing and go ahead and step down. What they need to do is get a whole new police department before this school year begins and have some really trained professionals there who will keep these children safe going forward. The fact that Arredondo has been relieved brings me no comfort because, like I said, this is a 30-plus year law enforcement officer. He's going to retire, and they're going to throw buckets of monies at these families in the very end, and they will do nothing substantively to change what has happened and make sure that it doesn't happen again, and more importantly, that the plethora of officers on scene are held accountable. Qualified immunity was off the table according to the GOP. This is why we need qualified immunity. Every officer on campus needs to go.
Yeah. So, Andy, I'm interested in your reaction as well about not only the fact that obviously changes need to happen in Uvalde, but the chances that something like this would happen again in this community are probably pretty slim. What needs to be done across the country to prevent a situation like Uvalde from ever happening?
Sadly, this tragedy is going to become another training point, similar to Columbine. We have to look at so many failures that we train, that we look for to do, including the chief's actions. We don't negotiate during active gunfire. We had confirmed calls. We talk about the breakdown of communication, but yet we have a 911 caller on the video you just showed me telling me I have a child caller on the phone. You're in a school. Entry was at no point, and for 47 days later, I believe it was, what your reporter stated, we still have no answers and a lot of finger pointing. Mm-hmm. That's unacceptable. That's disrespectful to the family, as the mayor was concerned about. I think it's disrespectful for me as a uniformed officer to have this dragged through and revisit the victim's family day after day after day. It's got to be changed and looked, and protocols are in place. You have protocols in place. I've seen them. One of the lines in the protocols was you need to be able to understand that you're going to be in danger. You're going to be placed potentially into danger. And that wasn't done. And I think training coordination, as you're taking a small department with more agencies that don't normally operate together, I think was a contribution to one of the multitude of errors that was going there.
But, Andy, put a point on that, because those of us that haven't been trained for situations like this need to understand this, right? Because it does appear in that video that Shimon was able to obtain that Arredondo, he's the one doing the talking, is trying to do some level of negotiation with the shooter. And then we hear gunshots after the fact. You don't negotiate with a shooter in a situation like that, right? Isn't that one of the things that law enforcement has set as a precedent after all these mass shootings, is that negotiations don't work, that you've got to get in there and quell the problem as soon as possible?
There was no time for negotiations. First of all, the chief should not have been involved with the negotiations at all. If he's the incident commander, whether he has his radio, doesn't have his radio, he should have been overseeing the operation. The shots were started or during as the first officers arrived. Now, again, no time for negotiations. Whether they want to try to designate it that he's contained, I saw no urgency to look for any second gunmen, so they felt comfortable wherever they felt they had him barricaded or subjected, but there were lives in danger. Mm-hmm. For any negotiations going on, and then especially after the second barrage of gunfire. Right. Well, time to go in. We screwed up 30 minutes ago. Maybe we should get in now. Right. Absolutely unacceptable.
And then, Lonnie, we have about a minute left. Again, accountability. That's the word that just keeps coming up over and over again. What does accountability look like to you?
You know, Ryan, it's interesting. In the report, there's one part where it says the only villain there at the scene that day was the shooter. We don't believe anyone had malice or ill will. I believe that those officers did not have malice or ill will. I don't believe any of them wanted those children to be hurt or killed. However, you may not have malice or ill will, but if you don't have the courage to step in and make sure that those children are saved, if you don't have the courage to put your life on the line to save those children who are trapped with an active shooter, then you should not be a police officer. And that's exactly what their training said. It said you will be called upon to put your life above those innocent lives. And if you can't do this, find another job.
All right. Thank you all for your expertise. We appreciate it. There's a lot happening in a short period of time. We appreciate you all hanging with us and providing your perspective. Thank you so much.